Welcome back, y'all. This is your boy JG. I'm super excited about today's edition of E&E. We in the building. We have a special guest. This is your boy Mike B in the motherfucking building.
Mike B in the house.
That didn't take long at all. I already said it.
Mike B in the house, man.
I already said it fucked up.
We're about to get into this, man. You know what it is.
We're taking a deep dive into basketball right now. We like 10 seconds into the video. If that is not your, if hoop is not your thing, go ahead and just click off. You go to a dating advice video or whatever you're going to go to. Go to that.
No doubt.
And that's cool. We're taking a deep dive and we're getting right into it. This is NBA edition, the transaction. Let's go.
Let's go. First thing we like to get into is, what's going on with Carmelo, man? Tell me something about that.
So, for those of you who don't follow the NBA, Carmelo is in a sort of a conundrum. We know that he didn't play last year. The last team he played for, I want to say, is the Knicks. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think it was Houston.
It was but he never played.
Well, I mean, what kind of?
Okay, so he was with Houston. He moved from the Knicks to Houston. It was a tumultuous breakup, and then he was out of the league. Carmelo's known for being a prolific scorer, a bit of a black hole, some would say. But the situation that is current is this. He can't get signed to a team. Mm-hmm. He is the United States' most prolific and decorated basketball hooper. Mm-hmm. Not Jordan, not LeBron, not Kobe. Carmelo Anthony is the U.S. most prolific basketball player. He didn't get an invite to camp.
No.
And we're going to get into that, kind of why we think that happened. And he's not getting signed to a team. He's not getting a look. You're talking about a 15-man roster. And cats don't want him. And so we're going to get into that right this second. What's up? What you got for me?
Well, it's kind of odd because, as good as he is, as good as he was, how is it that this man can't get on the roster?
Great question.
Now, I personally believe, like I was saying earlier, I think he got that Allen Iverson syndrome. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about back in the day when Allen Iverson was the man. He ruled the team. He did everything he wanted. But when it got time for him to start coming off the bench, he wasn't having it. So I'm thinking that Carmelo, instead of dialing this game back and realizing that he doesn't have what he used to have, maybe come off the bench, getting you a good 15 points or whatever, he still wants to be the man. And I mean, I watch him play in these open gyms, and he eats. He definitely eats. He's
full as a bucket.
Oh yeah, but the NBA game is a little different.
I want to ask you this question though. Before you continue, I want to ask you this question. We haven't seen him have the opportunity to say or do the thing that you're describing.
Okay.
Where, look, listen, I'm a role player. I come off the bench. This is what I do. We didn't get to see that. The Houston thing was short-lived, and then he was out the door. But I don't think they signed him with the intention that he would be a man to come in and get, 26 a game or whatever the case may be. I don't think that was the intention. So at this point, knowing that he didn't play at all last year, I don't think that he's getting a fair shake, so to speak, understanding and knowing his offensive prowess, his scoring prowess, the things that he can bring to a basketball team.
Once again, I definitely agree with that. I think the whole Houston thing was kind of a setup because, from my understanding, one of the guys who was in the front office for Houston was also in the front office of New York, and he had beef with Carmelo. So because it's politics.
Jerky.
Yeah, it's politics in there, and so because he had beef with Carmelo, I think that had something to do with it, with him not being playing. Now, Carmelo, when he went to Houston, he really didn't get a chance to get off. That was definitely true. And you know what? Houston could have used him. In fact,
facts,
you know what?
Facts.
There's not a team out there that can't use him, especially use him in the right way. I mean, he's a scoring, walking bucket.
Yep.
Now granted, I could use a little bit more defense. He definitely could play some more defense. Yeah, he's not doing that. But you know what? Off the bench, if he can accept that role off the bench, he'll get you a good 15 points. And he's a mismatch. He definitely got jumpers. He'll body you down there if he wants to.
Go back to the again. Yep.
And right now, I think this might be a little good for him because now it's a humbling experience. You're going from an all-star to now they're like, listen, bro, I don't even barely want you. So if a team does get him, he's got something to prove, man. He's got to make sure the world understands that the other 29 teams that pass on him, y'all made a mistake.
Well, I mean, I think at this point it's beyond a humbling experience. You're not getting an opportunity to play basketball.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's a fucked up deal.
He can go overseas.
Facts, but you want to be a stateside. You want to be elite. Even cats overseas who play when championships, Lithuania, this, that, and the other, whatever, Argentina. You want to be an NBA hooper,
right?
So my question for you is this: what's a good landing spot for Carmelo? Let's say, okay, the league says, hey guys, you know what? This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna sign Carmelo, and you know what? Where is he going to be? Where is he going to land? What's going to be the best situation or opportunity for him? So what's a good situation for him? What's a good opportunity for him?
So I guess it depends on what you're looking at. So I see there's two different options. If he's looking at getting a championship, he definitely can help teams coming off the bench, championship status. You know, he can go to Milwaukee, come off the bench, help my man Antetokounmpo. You know, that's a nice one. You know what I mean? You know, if he's just looking just to play ball, he can go to Charlotte. Charlotte is horrible.
Don't go to Charlotte.
I can play for Charlotte.
That's a
you know, well, I'm just saying. You know, I mean, and this year
I got a headband last week.
Yeah, right. You know, this year the drafts they made this year, the pickups they made this year were horrible. They didn't get any better. In fact, losing Kemba Walker, they got worse. So he could definitely go there and get buckets. You know what? He might be able to go in there and get 25 a night because it's not like they have anybody else out there who's going to be scoring like that. You know, so there's a couple of teams. I mean, I know there was some talk about him going to the Lakers. You know, I mean,
so now I'm glad that you brought that up. I want to focus in on that for like the next minute and a half.
Okay.
Does he fit into the situation with Los Angeles, considering the roster they already have? I think one of the positive things about the situation, Frank Vogel's the head coach.
Right.
You have Jason Kidd, he's an assistant head coach.
Right.
And obviously LeBron James plays for that team.
Right.
So he goes there, you have a leadership structure in place.
Right.
And I feel like the expectations will be clear. You don't have to guess, you don't have to wonder what it's going to be. Does it work? Does that work? Does that fit work?
Let me say why it works. I think it works because, first of all, you have a young athlete in Kyle Kuzma who plays the same position as Carmelo. If anything, he can learn from Carmelo. Now, whether you like Carmelo or not, Carmelo was a scorer. He gave business to everybody.
Buckets.
So how can you not learn from him?
Really
you know.
Outside.
Also, you know, not only that, you know, you have another person who can come off the bench and get you some buckets, especially when your first team is not maybe putting in work. You know what I mean? So I think it'll work. Plus, he has that respect for LeBron, and he knows what LeBron's going to demand. LeBron needs a ring in the next 2 years. AD needs that ring in the next 2 years. So if you're coming, so if you're coming to the Lakers, you better be ready to play. You know, so I think it'll work. You know, plus their friendship. You know, I mean, it's kind of like if I'm your boss and I'm hiring you, I don't need to talk to you. I expect you to come in and do your job.
Oh shit!
You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, right? You know, so LeBron's coming in. He's saying, "Listen, Carmelo, I don't want to hear about New York. I don't want to hear about Houston. Definitely not about OKC. I need you to come in here. I need you to do what your job is so I can put that ring on my finger. And plus, Carmelo will finally get a ring, you know? And I mean, it'll be a bootleg ring just because, you know, well, I'm saying it'll be bootleg just because as a superstar, if you don't get a ring in your prime, when you get a ring after your prime, it's kind of like, okay, cool, you got a ring, but do you really got a ring?
Yeah, yes, you do. You
know what I mean? So I mean, right? You know what I'm saying? But you know, as a superstar on the real, I would rather just put in work my whole life like Dame Lillard's going to do and never get a ring.
But you know, just a quick second for the Damian Lillard thing. He's going to get heavily criticized, and you know they'll say, you know, you couldn't carry your team to victory. But one of the great points that you brought up when you referenced Carmelo Anthony, him against second unit players, because I feel like the fall off is big from first to second unit.
Right.
There's only a couple teams with legitimate depth where that's an issue. You're 100%. He could get you 17 and a half.
Easy.
If he comes in, you know, he can get you those buckets.
Easy.
He's long story short, he's a viable basketball player.
Yes.
This thing is curious why, you know, he's not getting love. I have one more question for the Carmelo deal for you.
Okay.
How come no invite from the USA team for the FIBA?
You know what? Honestly, I just think they're moving on. You know, I mean, I don't think it's any disrespect to him, but I think, you know what, they want with all young players. And, you know, I mean, you got to give these young kids a chance. You know, I mean, and the thing is that Carmelo's put in work every time he's went, you know, and I think also it would be kind of awkward that you're not even on the roster, but you're getting invited to that.
Oh, that's good.
You know, I'm just saying.
That's a good ass point.
I mean, so.
But think about this perspective. A lot of players have said no to it.
Right.
A lot of star NBA, all NBA caliber players, they have said no to this opportunity to play for the FIBA World Cup team. If you're going to go for veteran leadership, that's an option. That's something. That's just another argument that you can make.
It is.
This guy is available.
It is.
We can't not have him. But you know, regardless of what I think or feel, you know, he didn't get the invite.
And you know, and it might be something in the background that we don't know about. You know, honestly, I've never heard about what kind of locker room guy this is. But he could be a cancer in the locker room. I don't know.
But here's the thing. But the fact that we haven't heard that, I think the fact that we haven't heard that indicates that that's not a thing that, you know, he struggles with. I mean, I think more of what you were saying earlier in the segment was, you know what, he could be a bit of a black hole. He gets gets the ball, holds it back to the basket, left side, and can't want it anymore. But I think there's some truth to what you're saying. For you to get moved around so much so, and you're you big as fuck. You a mismatcher, score, and cats don't want you.
Right.
So, we're going to put a bow on it for Carmelo Anthony. We're going to move on to the next. What you got for me?
Well, let me say this right before we leave. Carmelo, I hope you get on the team, bro. I still think you got game.
Shout out Melo.
You know what I mean? I still think you can do it, and I hope you get on the team. I hope you get a ring, so you can look at your haters. You know what I'm saying? I always used to say this. You know what I'm saying?
Shout out gold medals.
Haters are everywhere, and remember, even Jesus had haters.
Haters gonna hate.
No doubt. Next topic we like to talk about, man, is I like to call it the two-piece. I'm not talking about a two-piece and biscuit.
Two of them.
You know what I mean? Because, that's delicious.
Shout out Monster Dog.
I'm talking about how the NBA went to the two teams. Not to the two teams, but the two players on every All-Star team. And there's been some movement this year. So there is a couple of teams that got more than two superstars, maybe, if you consider people superstars. But of course, the biggest teams we're looking at the Lakers and we're looking at the Clippers.
Yep.
In my opinion, that's where the championship is coming from, is either one of those two.
So you're not looking at anybody as it stands right now as we get into this out of the East. And we're definitely going to take a deep dive. I agree with your assessment. It's like everyone's honest about it now. No one needs to lie. We don't need to pretend anymore.
Right.
If you don't have at least two stars, you should not have an expectation of winning unless you're the San Antonio Spurs. Historically, over time, they've kind of half done it. We don't realize people like Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker are the stars until we go, fuck, these guys are pretty good at basketball.
Yeah, right.
So now we're in the area where it's obvious.
Right.
You bring up the Clippers. Obviously, Paul George, who was my MVP until he hurt his shoulder.
Right.
And then Kawhi Leonard, they're on the same team. That's obvious. That's your NBA Finals MVP. That's the most obvious point that you bring up as far as the two-piece. So let's get into, I don't know, let's say 4 or 5, maybe 6 teams who have legitimate two pieces that have an opportunity, especially in the East. I feel like it's so wide open.
Yeah, definitely.
Who can run with it? Who can run with it?
So the East is kind of hard. Of course you want to, you got to give Milwaukee love. They lost to Toronto last year. Toronto obviously lost a lot of pieces. Them losing Kawhi was a big deal. So you can kind of see them beating that, but they also lost Malcolm Brogdon. Now that's a big piece. Sure. Now I understand he didn't play all the playoffs, but when he came back, that was a big piece. So now who do you fill that void? Well, now you got Eric Bledsoe, but Eric Bledsoe still hasn't proved that he can really shoot that jumper consistently.
Nope.
So he'll go to the hole, he'll rack you, he'll play some D, but you're gonna need somebody to knock that down.
He looked like a motherfucking running back.
Yeah, he does. He's swole. Yo, he's mad swole. So besides that, who just signed? They did sign Kyle Korver. I thought it was a big pickup. He's definitely gonna knock down that jumper. But who do they have breaking people off the dribble so he can get that open jumper? Antetokounmpo, hopefully he's working on this game this summer, because they know he's the man. They know every team he plays against is going to have a scheme for him and him only.
I think one of the things that we're already identifying, just talking about the one team, who's the second guy on that team?
I would have to say it's going to be Middleton. He was up for a max contract.
He did ball. He was an all-star.
Right. He came back. So, now I think the pressure's on him because now that he had to sign that max contract, they're going to expect more out of him. Last year it was cool. You could have a couple of games where you didn't really score. No big deal. This year, he has to bring it every night or he's going to be in the newspaper when they're going to be talking about him bad.
They were more spread out. They had better shooting. Their roster took a hit this year.
Definitely.
I think that we're going to get into like MVP style stuff or that kind of conversation, but we're going to figure out who Giannis Antetokounmpo really is.
Yeah.
For me next year, and I don't care about you getting 30 and 15. I care about where your team finishes.
Right.
And if I can blame somebody else.
Right.
One of the things that comes with being a superstar or all-star or a leader of a franchise is you got to take that heat. You get the credit, you got to take the heat.
No doubt.
Move over to Toronto. So you talk about Pascal Siakam.
He's nice. Is he an all-star though?
That's the question, right? So you have him on the team.
Yep.
Okay, so where do you go after? Where do you go after that?
Honestly, I'm telling you, I'm starting all over. They got a championship. I'm getting rid of Marc Gasol. He's older. He's gone. I'm getting rid of Ibaka. He's older. He's gone.
They're gonna keep him based on principle.
Oh, I'm sure, but I'm starting all over. You got Van Fleet. I might be giving him the reins to the point guard. Kyle Lowry, he's put in work. But maybe it's time for him to move on too, especially if I can get some nice draft picks and some trades. That's the one thing I got to say about New Orleans is they traded away AD, they traded away some picks, but look at how many picks they got in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
They got crazy first round picks, so they got something to build on. Toronto's definitely not going to be a factor, and I'm going to even say Toronto might not even make the playoffs this year.
It's
now, the East is weak though.
No, I definitely hear you, and then you could run down the list, which we're not going to do. Don't worry, guys, because I don't even know all the team in the East. I do, but I'm not. We ain't having that conversation. The thing that kind of I guess fucks me up about Toronto is you think about the team, they didn't really change that much outside of Kawhi Leonard.
Right.
And because of the state of the East, they go to the NBA Finals.
Right,
you know?
right.
Now Kawhi's gone.
Right. Well, and shout out to my man DeMar, because you know what?
Oh,
they made DeMar a scapegoat, and you know, and if
they
you really watch,
they got a championship,
right? You watch basketball, you know, man, it wasn't his fault, man. He just happened to run into LeBron, and in the history of the game, there was always a team that you couldn't get past, no matter how good you was.
Shout out Barkley.
So you know, I mean, LeBron, he was just doing his thing. He couldn't get past. I mean, DeMar's a baller, so you know, please don't hate on him. The man got game, you know. I mean, but Toronto's not going to be much. The only team I see putting in work this year, besides Milwaukee, is Philly. Philly did their thing. They did their thing.
Wonderful transition. A wonderful segue. Let's get into it. Joel Embiid, he's like the physical embodiment of everything you would ever want in a basketball player and team.
Except heart.
Size, minus heart.
Except heart.
Okay, so he didn't let me finish.
Go ahead. My bad.
So you got size. You have the ability to block shots, play defense.
Definitely.
And then he's a big man who could draw your 5 out and shoot threes and knock them down. And then you have Ben Simmons. And I have a better jump shot than Ben Simmons. I'm not even talking shit.
But you know,
the thing that I want to say is that's their two piece.
You're right. But here's what's crazy though. Is I've been watching Ben Simmons. He plays in the Rico Hines. He's been playing that Rico Hines lead down in California. Now I understand it's pickup ball, but he's been shooting jumpers and he's been knocking them down.
How does it translate?
You know what? You know what? I'm going to say this. Anybody who's ever played basketball know basketball is 90% mental.
So he needs to bring that mental shit with him. Stop playing games.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But you know, if you're knocking down jumpers,
he humping chicks and he's not doing the right thing.
Well, I'm just saying, if you're knocking down jumpers in the Rico Hines league, what's going to stop him from knocking down jumpers in, you know, the NBA?
He's 6'10".
Yeah. Legit.
So that makes that question legitimate. Why can't you shoot this shot?
You can.
Most people that are playing your position, either 1 or 2 guard, you're still bigger than them.
Yeah.
You're as big as a forward.
Yeah.
Whatever you're doing, bring it with you.
Yeah.
Bring it with you, because the thing of it is that team is young. They're a young basketball team.
Yes.
And they're running out of excuses. And what's his name? Brett Brown, the head coach.
Yeah.
I'll put hands on you.
Yeah.
You look like an alcoholic and you fucking up.
Well, you know what? Let me go ahead and say that, you know, he has a great opportunity this year for them not to go to the finals, but to go to the finals. You know, they got to get there. I mean, you look at the 2 stars they got, but then they re-signed Tobias Harris, which was a great pick. Tobias Harris now has
show and prove.
Yeah, but he doesn't have the pressure on him though. You know, I mean, those 2 stars got to put in work.
I have to stop you for a second because let me ask you a question. You watched the playoffs last year, right?
Yes, sir.
Eastern Conference Finals. Jimmy Butler's gone. He's in Miami now.
He's gone. He's in Miami.
Who's closing for Philadelphia?
Good question.
Who's closing for Philadelphia?
You know, good question. You definitely need that dog. And honestly, I don't know. I mean, good question. I would say Embiid. I would say Embiid would probably be your best.
You have to be on the floor.
Yeah. Well, not only that, you know. So I'm saying he's probably gonna have to be the one. You know, I mean, you know, you want to be a superstar. You talk trash like you're a superstar. Now step up.
Stay off Twitter.
Yeah. You know, I mean,
Stay healthy.
I mean, you know, tell Rihanna you bring in your game. You know, maybe that's what you need to tell her, you know? I mean, but definitely he has to be the one. You know, them picking up Al Horford is definitely going to be helpful because now you got 2 big men who like to step out and shoot threes.
Facts. I completely agree with that. Yes.
So, I mean, it's like I said, Philly, the only thing that hurt Philly is them losing Jimmy Butler. Yeah, that hurt because Jimmy Butler's a dog. And them using JJ knocking down that jumper. But I think they did enough where they stepped over Milwaukee and they can get to the finals. Now, of course, when you're on the court, it's a little bit different, you know. And I mean, I'm looking through all the teams in the East, and there honestly is not another team that I'm worried about. You know what? I want to give Boston a little love. You know, just because
losing Al Horford was a big deal.
No, it is. That's a big deal. But you know, I can see Boston being number 4, number 5 in the East.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, so you know, hopefully Jason Tatum,
maybe even 3.
Yeah, you know, maybe Tatum grew up a little bit, maybe Brown grew up, and you know what? Believe it or not, as much as I like Kyrie, I like Kemba Walker being there, man. I think Kemba Walker's more of a person that the young cats can grow with. I think Kyrie's expecting something.
And I think that even though he's a ball-dominant basketball player and he scores a bunch of points,
right,
for whatever reason or another, I see the offense going better through him than it did through Kyrie last year. Him struggling, he hasn't won. He hasn't won.
Right.
Kimba doesn't know that experience.
And I think
I feel like he'll be more amenable in that situation.
You're right. And the difference is I think Kimba didn't have nobody to pass to, honestly. When he was in Charlotte. I mean, not trying to be funny, but in Charlotte, he really didn't have nobody. You got Jason Tatum, who's pretty nice. You know what I'm saying?
Jaylen Brown.
You got Brown, who's nice.
Rozier's
and then you know
gone.
what? And then you know what? Let's hope that my shooter come back, man. You know what I'm talking about, my boy for Utah.
Gordon Hayward?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Last year he didn't look so hot.
Because
you know
his
what I'm
ankle
saying?
was still blasted
Okay,
up.
but you know what? He has a whole summer. He has a whole summer now. Maybe he gets back to that form where now they got another superstar.
He had a dope ass fade. He had the white boy.
Yeah,
fade.
he did. It was cool. You know.
Let's get right to it. Let's get to the money. We've bullshitted long enough. Los Angeles Clippers, Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah.
AD Anthony Davis, the brow coming over from the Pelicans to the Lakers.
The brow.
You have Paul George, which is really my surprise because you knew AD was coming over one way or the other. Paul George, he goes to the OKC Thunder, say, yo, you better trade me or I'm putting hands on it. I'm slapping somebody.
Right.
They say, okay, we don't want to get slapped. They move him. Kawhi Leonard joins him. Two questions. What's the better duo? What are your expectations for these two franchises in the West?
So you got to look at it. Let's look at it like this. So perimeter-wise, obviously Clipper has the perimeters locked down. I mean, you might not be.
Points.
Yeah, you might not be able to get that ball across half court. Pat
Beverly
on the
perimeter. He's definitely gonna foul the hell out of you, or just fight you.
Yeah, no doubt. You know what I'm saying? So they definitely got that locked down. But my issue is that LeBron can handle the ball.
Yep.
And now he has AD down in the post, you know, who could do his thing. And the Clippers don't have nobody in the post that's going to be able to hold an AD. Now, you could do something crazy and like, oh, I'm going to put Kawhi on him. But to me, that's the mismatch. As good as Kawhi is, AD's eating them, you know. Not to mention, what is DeMarcus Cousins going to bring to the table?
That is a question mark. That's a great question mark. We talked about it earlier. I think my expectation and what your expectation is a little bit different.
Okay.
I'm not, from a Lakers perspective, yes, it's a good signing, and if he comes back and he's healthy and any good, then you know that you're going to be dominant in the paint. You're really, it's going to be absurd, especially with the addition of LeBron James, adding shooters, Kyle Kuzma, guys that can spread the floor. We'll see if Iguodala comes over. But for me, I don't have a high expectation, not to say that he's not good, but I'm putting pressure other places than Boogie Cousins. That's, for me, that Lakers signing is more of a gamble. Let's see what we get kind of deal versus, hey, come in, solidify the middle, and really be a guy that we can count on to get us buckets or get rebounds or defend the paint.
Well, it's a great gamble, and the reason it is because they didn't pay him nothing. They paid him potato chips.
I love potato chips.
Yeah, me
I like
too.
the jalapeno ones.
Some ranch and dip it. Yeah, no doubt.
That.
You know, but because they didn't pay a lot of money for him, you know, the only thing you have to go is up. If he doesn't do anything, okay, cool. I didn't pay him that much money. You only signed him to a 1-year deal. You know what? After this year, he's done. You know, but if he does come back to that form or even close to that form,
they're gonna kill. They're gonna kill.
You're right there. You know, now the one thing that people aren't talking about, which I find interesting, is Westbrook going to Houston.
Oh, good point.
Now that's another duo in the West.
So now you brought this up. So hey, shout out Clippers. We're moving on now. Shout out Lakers. We're moving on now because this is a hell of a point, and I haven't had an opportunity to discuss it at all with anybody. Does that shit work? Like straight up, does that work?
Okay, so
Russell Westbrook. Okay, let's a couple things I want to get into before you answer the question. Westbrook, he's averaged triple-double the last 2 years. That's fantastic.
Right.
His shooting percentage, he's struggling.
Yeah.
He's struggling from three. He's struggling from the line. His game is tailored around athleticism and having the ball in his hand.
Right.
Oh, guess what? You play with James Harden.
Yeah.
James Harden is a monster. I think he had 30-plus straight games with 30 points last year.
Yep.
Did some outrageous shit like that. He has a dope beard. I'm not seeing how this is working. I'm not seeing how this fit works. Shout out Chris Paul. You're in OKC, and me and Mike, we gonna be down there. We gonna be on the roster.
No, I mean, you know,
I can spot him shooting D up.
Yeah, I mean, tickets should be free. I mean, really, because
shout out Chris Paul.
OKC is not doing anything, so tickets should be free. You know, what I mean,
shout out Billy Donovan. Shout out Florida.
No doubt. You know, but with that being said, you know, I'm skeptical. Let me say that again. I'm skeptical. Because I just don't see.
You should be.
I just don't see how Westbrook and Harden's going to play together. Now, don't get me wrong. Maybe Westbrook will take a seat back and say, hey, you know what? I won a championship. This is my time to really get further in the NBA. But I always think about Westbrook when he had KD, when he was in his prime, and KD was still unstoppable.
4-time scoring champion.
Right. And Westbrook decided that he wanted to take the ball at the end of the game and make crazy shots when he should have given it to him.
Dumbass decision.
Yeah, definitely the mismatch. So I don't know, man. When they first made that trade, I was kind of like, oh, okay, that's cool. You know, he gets out of OKC, but I personally don't think it's going to work. I don't think it's going to work. I mean, you're going to have some games where these guys are going to murder just because he's so athletic and James Harden is such a scoring beast. But when it comes down to it, you know, Chris Paul was a dog on defense. I mean, he played D. Westbrook don't really play no D, bro.
Well, one of the issues that you run into is, and I don't know if this is a bad thing. Cats out there are sensitive these days. Chris Paul had expectations and demands.
Yes.
I need you to do your part.
Yeah.
And the cats are, fuck you, or whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? But we love talking about Chris Paul like he's like some sort of washed up player, and he's not. He can run your offense, and he's a pest on defense. He's beyond a pest. That's actually disrespectful. He's a defender.
Yes.
He challenges the other team's guard, as long as it's not Steph Curry, because he was putting him on skates. But you move him along because he might be a little rough around the edges as far as a locker room guy, so to speak.
Well, you know what? I think a lot of it had to do with his contract. His contract is super fat,
and that's really why the deal works.
Yeah,
because you think about Westbrook, something like stupid $40 million or whatever. They have very similar contracts. The difference of a minimal amount of money, they make it happen. They make the swap. I don't know. That's a great point. So we talked about Los Angeles Lakers. We talked about Clippers. We talked about Houston.
What about Utah?
I don't want to get into Utah just yet because I want to know what your opinion is on what the Warriors do. They've dominated the league for so long.
Now, the Warriors going to take a year off.
Okay.
They're going to take a year
So we're done. We get right into Utah.
Yeah. I mean, and just be honest. Let's just be respectful. The Warriors still got Steph. They still got Damon. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they don't have any other players. I mean, this year really made me see that this is just a business. And what I mean is you have somebody like Iguodala who's put in work for you year after year after year. And not only do you let him walk, you trade him, but I think it had a lot to do with him getting on TV talking about when KD was hurt, how he was pressured to play, how he's been hurt, he's been pressured to play. And I just personally think the organization was like, nah, you know what? He's being disrespectful. He's telling home business, so let's get him out of there. They're not re-signing Sean Livingston.
He's done.
Sean Livingston is out of there, so I don't know if he's still going to play basketball, but Golden State is not taking him back anymore. So I just think they're trying to clean house. You got Clay off for a year. This is a year where Steph can kind of just... It's kind of going to be a lot on the shoulders because, the Golden State people still expect him to go to the playoffs, And so Draymond's going to have to pick up his scoring. I know he likes to do the 10 points and the 9 rebounds and 7 assists or whatever, but he's going to have to.
Here's what I like about this situation. This will be, hey, you heard it here first. Shout out to your boy JG, Mike be in the building, E&E. You heard it here first. This is Draymond Green's last year with the Warriors.
Yes, sir.
If he makes it to the entire year because of what you just said.
Yeah.
The expectation is higher now.
Yes.
You're minus KD. What's his name?
Clay's out too.
Clay's hurt.
Yep.
You got D'Angelo Russell. That's cool.
Yeah.
The load now gets redistributed.
Right.
You shit the bed and you win and you lose a bunch of games and you hit a little streak where you lost maybe 4 or 5 in a row and he flips the hell out. Steve Kerr and that front office, they're not having that. They're not having it.
I mean, he might get traded mid-year.
And that's why I said if he makes it.
he might get traded mid-year. And the thing is, what does D'Angelo Russell bring to the game? So is he now the shooting guard when Steph is bringing down the rock? Is he now bringing down the rock and Steph is a shooting guard?
Well, I had a really terrible take that I don't know if people saw it, but it's on the internet. Shout out if you want to hit it up, NBA Free Agency 2019. And the position that I took for D'Angelo Russell was kind of a niched, kind of nuanced one where he's a guy who's, whether it's meant something, he's kind of been a guy who could take a shot at the end of a game and hit a bucket and not give a fuck. He's looking like, and then I just thought about Steph Curry. Obviously, he's a better basketball player.
No doubt.
He's a tremendous basketball player, and I don't take anything away from him. But in crunch time situations, he's not been a guy who's shown up traditionally over time. Preseason, regular season, playoffs. It would have been a nice compliment, a bigger, younger guard coming in who will take a dumbass shot. That's been Clay's role. That's kind of what he's done.
That's true.
And then KD, who's not there, shout out Brooklyn.
Right.
That's what he's done. But I think that assessment is too small. It's not significant enough for me to ride with it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
My question to you would be is he a trade piece? Because that's a lot of rumor that's floating around out there.
And that's what I thought. I thought he was brought there to be a trade piece anyway, because you think about it, you're paying him all that money, and when Clay comes back, where does he fit in that rotation? So, I mean, I think that he eventually will be a trade piece, but I think it's going to be later on, maybe mid-year, maybe even next year, just because they don't have Clay, they still want to be respectable, and they're going to that new arena, so that new arena is going to be money. They still want to bring the fans in. They still want to keep people loving Golden State, so I personally think he'll stay there for a little while. Hopefully he'll do really good and put a little bit of work in. I mean, D'Angelo Russell's game, I like it, but it's kind of like... It's kind of like built for the East. Like the West is too fast. I mean, you look at the guards in the West, and they're extremely athletic, extremely fast. And
if
we
ran down a list of guards for just the West only,
right? Look who he has to guard every night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I just don't know how he's going to do. I mean, hopefully he does good. No hating at all. But I think he has his hands full, and I hope he's been in the gym this year working on his game. So now let's go ahead and jump into Utah. So Utah's kind of that dark horse. And the reason I'm saying is because I don't know what Mike Conley's going to bring to the table. When he's healthy, he's nice.
Leadership. Consistency.
When he's healthy, he's nice.
No technical fouls.
Okay, cool. But him and Donovan Mitchell though, that's a nice little backcourt. You know what I mean?
I agree. I'm kind of curious about what your thoughts are on. I don't want to say Donovan Mitchell played poorly, but where was he last year? Like, things were just different. Now that might be that environment might be created by expectation. You see this guy come in, he's a rookie, he's killed, he's bang, he dunks on somebody.
Definitely banging out.
He's doing ridiculous shit.
He's definitely banging out.
And it just seemed quieter last year. You got Rudy Gobert. He did his thing.
Definitely.
You got Ingles. He does his thing.
Yeah.
The team is supposed to be good.
Right.
The team is supposed to be good.
But you are playing in the West.
Facts.
And you're playing against teams that are just better. That's really what it comes down to.
Sorry, Utah.
But
shout out racism.
They lost Favor. They lost their power forward. You know what I'm saying? So that's a big deal. And I think last year, I don't think Donovan didn't put in work. I think you knew who he was, and so did the other teams.
Yes.
So when you have that person who comes in and they put in work and you don't know who they are, you're like, damn, how do we defend this cat? You've had a whole year to watch him now. So you know what he does, you know what he doesn't do well, and now you can game plan for that team. And let's think about it. On Utah last year, you didn't game plan for Ricky Rubio.
Nope.
You game plan for Donovan Mitchell.
Shout out to the slick back.
Yeah, no doubt. Donovan Mitchell. And so now, with him having Conley, it's going to be a little bit help, because not saying that Rubio was a scrub, no doubt, but Conley's a little different. He brings a little bit more fire, a little bit more offense. You know what I mean? So with that being said, it looks kind of cool. I got him going back to the playoffs. I don't have him doing nothing in the playoffs though, but I have him going back. But let me tell you a team. There's a team that I think cats are sleeping on.
Are you gonna say Denver?
That's my team.
Okay, so
that's who I'm gonna say.
I wanted to ask you about Denver, but I'm not gonna do it right now.
Okay.
Don't get disappointed, guys. This is your boy JG. Mike B in the building.
Building.
This is the NBA free agency special. It's a two-parter.
No doubt.
We gonna close this one up.
Yes, sir.
We're coming right back at you.
Right
we
back.
Out.